My campaign isn't about what I can do for you. My campaign is about leading by example.
Is it true that you have been thinking about it?
I'm poor. I'm young. I have $28,000 in student debt. I don't own any property to speak of. I barely own my car. I hover between being underemployed and unemployed. I eat a lot of beans and rice. I have a mohawk. Everything about me says that I shouldn't be running for office, that I can't win, which is exactly why I'm running. And if I can run, you can run too. Now, we've seen over the past 50 years the separation between place and power. This is especially true at the federal level. It used to be that simply changing the people who are representing you in DC could change public policy. Power has shifted outside of government into this abstract mist of global finance, corporate power. Political power isn't in our government anymore. Our government is now a colonized territory in a proxy war between different financial institutions all vying for power, and they have no loyalty to any nation. Power has evaporated into this haze of stateless fascist empires. Wall Street, the International Monetary Fund, the World Trade Organization. To reclaim sovereignty over our own lives, we must disconnect from these global power structures, wrest control of the means of production, and ownership of capital away from them. We need to make our democratic systems democratic. To do that, we need to make our economic systems democratic. This means a host of things. We need to create a state bank whose officials are democratically elected and whose hands are tied by strict regulation. Public banks who can provide credit to municipalities at 0% interest so that they can invest in public projects, our sewer systems, our roads, our bridges, public transportation, trolley systems, light rail. This also means alternative currencies, non-monetary forms of exchange like the time dollar. As soon as we stop needing and wanting the dollars that the capitalists have, we become free and they become powerless. Wresting control away from these globalized institutions also means disregarding, treaties at the federal level like the World Trade Organization, NAFTA. If elected, I plan to author illegal legislation over and over and over again to challenge these institutions. I welcome the coming fights that will come in the courts. It'll create the opportunity for us to talk about how our sovereignty has been robbed from us. The fact that these laws would be challenged in the courts, the fact that our governments can't legislate about these things shows very clearly how political power has been moved outside of our governmental systems, outside of our democratic process. If you've done issue work, no matter what issue it was that you were working on, labor issues, healthcare, economic justice, environmental justice, social justice, you've probably come up against a stone wall. Most members of the public have this idea that we elect people who mean to do well into Congress, and then the constant barrage of lobbyists is what ends up corrupting them. But that is the exact opposite of how it works. If you want to chair a committee, the party that you are a part of, no matter whether it's a Republican Party or the Democratic Party, they require that you raise money for their Democratic Senate coordinated campaign or for their Republican Senate coordinated campaign or House campaign, which means that the sitting legislators have to beg for money from lobbyists. It is the exact opposite of what we think. Both parties are equally guilty of this, and both parties need to be kicked out of office. And this is why I'm running as a Green, and as a clean elections candidate. I'm running as a Green because the Green Party, as a party, does not accept corporate money. No PAC money. We collect small donations from individual human beings. Actual people, not corporate people. Actual people. Now, here in the state of Maine, we're very lucky that we have a clean elections system where we have an option to publicly finance our elections at the state level, for which I did a lot of work and qualified. That also means that I am legally barred from doing any fundraising for my campaign. That's right, I'm going to be raising $0 during the course of this campaign, which means that I am completely free to talk about issues. I don't have to change my views in order to fund my campaign. And so that's why right now I'm asking you for 0 donations to fund my campaign. Now, you can check out my full platform at asherplatts.com, but before we can tackle the rest of the stuff on there, we need to get money out of politics. Now, both Republicans and Democrats have been complicit in weakening our clean election laws here in the state of Maine. To prevent prevent the Green Party from being able to qualify for clean elections funding for the gubernatorial race, a move which can only be described as undemocratic, Maine Democrats changed the requirements for the gubernatorial race for clean elections funding so that they barely made it last time, and they probably won't be able to qualify for clean elections funding in the gubernatorial race this next time around. Moreover, if we have two different tiers for campaign finance, one in which you get a finite amount of money and are barred from doing fundraising, and another in which you can raise unlimited amounts of money from corporations, from millionaires, etc., you still have a corrupt system. And those candidates who are the most honorable are at a disadvantage, especially when 94% of the time, the candidate who spends the most money ends up winning the election. While Democratic Party candidates may be running they themselves with clean elections funding, and they may not take corporate contributions, the Democratic Party has absolutely no qualms about doing so. The Democratic Party is a 527. It's a PAC. And they will gladly accept corporate donations, millions of dollars from super wealthy interests. And perhaps because of this, despite the fact that most Democrats in the state of Maine ran with clean elections funding, last session, they tried to push through a flat tax. That's right, the Democrats here in Maine tried to push through a flat tax when they controlled both houses of our state legislature and the governorship. This flat tax, the Green Party fought with a referendum, and we won. Grover Norquist is a huge fan of a flat tax. I have no idea why the Maine Democrats were pushing for a flat tax. That is a Republican policy position. And it's not just that it's a Republican position, but also, to compensate for the lost revenue, there was a consumption tax. Now, consumption taxes fall overwhelmingly on low-income people. But wait, it gets worse. This consumption tax had exemptions for all sorts of things that rich people would purchase. Things like docking fees at a marina, stays at a bed and breakfast. If you were to go golfing on a golf course, that would be exempt, but mini golf would not. You cannot legislate for the rich and then pretend that you love the poor. I'm personally not surprised that the Democrats lost control of our state government in 2010. As to whether or not to engage in electoral politics or not, whether to vote or not, here's the thing, 60% of Americans already don't vote. 60% did not vote in 2000, 60% did not vote in 2004, and 60% did not vote in 2008. But can you really blame them? I mean, given the choices, given how the media frames the election, only two pro-war corporate options. In this upcoming presidential race, we have two candidates who are bought and paid for by Wall Street, and then we have a third-party candidate in Jill Stein that the corporate-owned media will either tell us the lie that they can't win, or will just ignore altogether. So what are we supposed to do? Let's do a little math. 60% of the country doesn't vote. The elections are always reported as being near 50% to 50%. Out of the 100% of people who are eligible to vote, 40% do, meaning that only half of them end up picking our president. 21% of the population picks our president. Now, if that 60% that didn't vote split their votes equally with 30% and 30% between, say, Gary Johnson of the Libertarian Party and Jill Stein of the Green Party, either one of them could win. Each of the two third-party candidates would have a 10-point lead over either of the two Wall Street candidates. Now, my campaign alone can't fix this problem, or even any of the other problems that my platform addresses. I have absolutely no illusions about that. Even if I were to get elected, I would be one lone voice in Augusta. And if I can run, you can run too. Electoral activism is but one tool in the toolbox on the long, hard road towards social, economic, and environmental justice. My campaign didn't start with my running for office, and it's not going to end in November. Back in the late 1800s, the early 1900s, workers died in the streets for their right to organize a union. If we don't do something similar to them, with the same level of courage, to vote with courage for things that we really want, no matter what the chance that your candidate has of winning, even if you're just registering your name as a write-in vote and writing yourself in, and if I can run, you can run too. That will bring that 50% to 50% split that's reported by the media closer and closer to what it actually is, which is a split between 20 and 20%. This would show what a fraud the two-party system is. It's been said that the best way to take away a person's power is to tell them that they have none. Well, let's rediscover our power. Occupy everything.
'Cause they are just children. children, they will die someday. So please hold my mother, kind soul. My brothers, tell my sister, please. Albuquerque's too far away, and the sun cuts awful well and bright.